Nikolay Ivanovich Kostomarov was one of the most distinguished Russian historians, a professor of history at the Kiev University and later at the St. Petersburg University, and author of many books, including his famous biography of the 17th century Hetman of Zaporozhian Cossacks Bohdan Khmelnytsky, and his fundamental three-volume Russian history in biographies of its main figures. Nikolay Kostomarov was so important for Ukrainian culture that some researchers observe him as a Ukrainian historian, as well as Russian historian. His father was landlord Ivan Petrovich Kostomarov. His mother Tatyana Petrovna Melnikova was of commoner origin. That's why Nikolay Kostomarov de jure was a serf of his father. As a historian, Kostomarov's writings reflected the romantic trends of his time. He was an advocate of the use of ethnography and folk song by historians, and claimed to be able to discern the spirit of the people, including national spirit, by this method. On the basis of the folk songs and history, he claimed that the peoples of what he called northern Great Rus on one hand and southern Little Rus on the other differed in character, and formed two separate nationalities. In his famous essay, Two Russian Nationalities, a landmark in the history of Ukrainian national thought, he propagated what some consider to be the stereotypes of Russians inclined towards autocracy, collectivism, and state-building, and Ukrainians inclined towards liberty, poetry, and individualism. In his various historical writings, Kostomarov was always very positive about Kievan Rus, about what he considered to be its Vesh system of popular assemblies, and the later Zaporozhian Cossack Brotherhood, which he believed in part was an heir to this system. By contrast, he was always very critical of the old Muscovite autocracy and its leaders. In fact, he gained some popular notoriety in his day by outing the story of Ivan Susanin, a legendary martyr hero viewed as a savior of Muscovy. Religion. Kostomarov was a very religious man and a devout adherent of the Orthodox Church. He was critical of Catholic and Polish influences on Ukraine throughout the centuries, but, nevertheless, was considered as more open to Catholic culture than many of his Russian contemporaries, and later, the members of the Slavic benevolent societies. Cultural politics. Kostomarov was also active in cultural politics in the Russian Empire, being a proponent of a pan-Slavic and federalized political system. He was a major personality in the Ukrainian national awakening, a friend of the Ukrainian poet Taras Shevchenko, a defender of the Ukrainian language in literature and in the schools, and a proponent of a populist form of pan-Slavism, a popular movement in a certain part of the intelligentsia of his time. In the 1840s he founded an illegal political organization called the Brotherhood of Saints Cyril and Methodius in Kiev, and through the 1860s to the 1880s, as a university professor, scientist and well-known writer of political essays, he continued to promote the ideas of federalism and populism in Ukrainian and Russian historical thought. He had a profound influence on later Ukrainian historians such as Volodymyr Antonovich and Mikhailo Hrushevsky. Writer. Kostomarov was also a romantic author and poet, a member of the Kharkiv Romantic School. He published two poetry collections and the branched both collections containing historical poems mostly about Kievan Rus and Bohdan Khmelnytsky. His poetry is known for including vocabulary and other elements of traditional Ukrainian folk songs. He also wrote historical dramas, however these had little influence on the development of Ukrainian theatre. He also wrote prose in Russian, and Russian mixed with Ukrainian, but these also are considered insignificant. Another short story takes Russia as its analogue, and imagines a revolution of farm animals. The work has been cited as a possible antecedent to George Orwell's Animal Farm.